Today, we're going to learn beside each other. That's how it is sometimes. I get something or I discover a new coin, and you guys know about as much about it as I do. Some of you probably know more about this particular coin that we're going to discuss, the history behind it. You likely know more than I do. I'm not from Australia, and this was absolutely new to me. An Australian friend of mine had told me about these and then went as far as to send me a replica. I didn't even know how rare they really were. I looked them up. I started reading about them. It's a phenomenal coin. It's a really interesting part of history, and it involves one of my favorite, I guess you could say, family or lineages of coinage, the Spanish silver, Spanish pieces of eight, the 8 reals. So we're going to talk about how all of this ties in. The name is comedic to me. It's funny. I'm not going to get too vulgar with it, but it's called the Holy Dollar and Dump. The dump, and we'll talk about what the dump is, the dump part of this coin. So this is a fun story about, again, monetary history, economic history, coinage history, sound money history, all of that kind of tied together. So glad you guys are here, and I'm excited that we can share all of this together. So the coin that we're going to discuss here, the actual coin that kind of set this all in motion, it's right here. This is the box it came in, 2003, and certificate of authenticity is right here. You see that? This is the Holy Dollar in the Dump 2003. This numbered certificate authenticates the accompanying $1 and fine silver collector coin as Australian legal tender, produced to collector demand. The final mintage was 14,203, so it's pretty rare. Struck to the usual high standards of the Royal Australian Mint, the design unites recreations of the original 1813 obverse and reverse of the Holy Dollar and Dump in actual size. So this is coin number 13,238. The controller of the Royal Australian Mint right there. Signature, Vivian Tom. And again, only 14,203 coins, not very many. I can tell already that Aloha Stacker is going to be hooked when he sees this video, because he bought the last coin that I showed from the Australian Mint that was kind of a historical reproduction just like this. So there's the cert. You know it's real. I'm going to open the coin up. Check it out. Ta-da. Goodness, it actually looks like it's proof. Wow. That's phenomenal. Let's check this thing out. Let's look at the other side of it. You guys are going to want to check this out with me, I'm sure. So it's to actual size right there. This is the dollar and the dump, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to read it all to you, don't worry. 1813, New South Wales. Charles IV. Also, there's the Queen of England there, which is funny having them both on the same coin because they were fighting each other. Earlier than that, of course, there was some conflict between Spain and England during the colonial period, as many of you know. The roots of piracy are found in that. Again, this is the coin that you see impressed into here would be a replica pillar dollar image. And I wonder what, if it's Charles IV. Yeah, so it would be more, the original coin would have been just like this, like a 1790 here, Charles IV there. And then, of course, you flip it over, you can see some of the replica images there. And we're going to talk about why this coin looks like this and the story behind the originals. Now, I looked. Original Holy Dollars and Dumps, prohibitively expensive. This is a chop-marked dollar that traded the same time period all over the world. And then, of course, my favorite pillar dollar. This is Charles III, however, 1783. Again, we'll talk about these, but you can see that. So these are intact pillar dollars here, of course. Then we have over here the 1761, which you're familiar with also. I've discussed this pillar dollar many times on the channel. I'm going to show you each iteration, each version of these as we go through. Here's an 1810. As you can see. There you go. And this is Lima, Peru. This is a Peruvian mint right here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful coins. Incredible. Okay, and you can see we're going to get these all, we'll do them all together. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read about this particular coin for you. We're going to read through the actual little booklet that it comes with because it tells the story of these coins. And I think it's important to understand the history as we're going through these. And then I'll showcase them a little bit further and we'll talk about the coins. So if you don't mind, without further ado, let us read about these very coins we are looking at. If you want, I will even lower this so that you have a better vantage of the coinage we are discussing, because I know everyone likes to look at coins just as much as I do. So let me give you a better view while I bore you to death with my voice here. There we go. Okay. The Holy Dollar and the Dump, as read by Junius Maltby on this cloudy, cold spring day. The Holy Dollar and Dump, a masterstroke all around. Necessity, it is claimed, is the mother of invention. In Australia, Australian history is littered with examples of canny resourcefulness in the face of adversity. None more interesting than the tale behind one of the country's first attempts at producing its own currency, the Holy Dollar. It just gets me. It's spelled holy, H-O-L-E-Y, but for some reason it makes me think almost like in a religious sense or a church sense, like holy, like this is a holy dollar, like it's sanctified or, you know, without impurity, without blemish, or it's just interesting. It's funny. I don't know, something about that, calling it holy dollar and then having the word dump in there. I don't know what it is, but it has some type of a comedic response from me. I think it's hilarious. But anyways, they're producing their own currency, the Holy Dollar. When the bedraggled convicts, when the bedraggled convicts and crew of the First Fleet scrambled ashore to establish a penal settlement at Sydney Cove, a chronic shortage of coinage across the British Empire meant the colony of disgracefuls, unquote, was left virtually penniless. I don't understand. So it's always been a joke, Australian, its founding history. But think of the terms that they get labeled with, and this is from their mint, their own mint, called them bedraggled convicts, as the founders of, and then what do they say here? They call it a penal settlement, of course, because they sent debtors there and things. And then in quotes, it was called a colony of disgracefuls. And they were left virtually penniless because there was no coinage there. What few coins were in use came from the pockets and purses of the passengers themselves and subsequent ships acquired from stopovers in foreign ports during their voyages to the colony. So if you were stopping over in a foreign port, I would imagine that is how some of these would have gotten there. A chop-marked pillar dollar just like this easily could have landed in Australia at this time period during the trade with East Asia for all of the things we've talked about in the past: tea, silks, porcelain, spices, you name it. I mean, the amount of goods that would have come out of the Far East at this time period and the values of which would have been reflected in silver coin, in the international monetary unit. The liquidity anchor, if you will, at the time was in fact this coin, the pillar dollar. Absolutely the liquidity anchor of the globe like no other. I truly do not believe there is a rival in global history as far as a liquidity anchor, a settlement of debt, a unit of exchange, a unit of account, you name it, money that can possibly rival the influence of the Spanish pillar dollar, the Spanish pieces of eight. It's irrefutable in my opinion, and it's why it is perhaps my favorite coin ever struck, and in every iteration of it. And again, I'll go into more detail. Of course, I owe you a video on this coin, This coin deserves its own discussion, its own dialogue. And of course, I could make videos on each one of these coins repeatedly, just the various side avenues you could take on the history of them. But again, I wanted to show you this one as an example of just that one clause there, because again, they were being traded internationally, and that's how they would land in Australia. Let's start up here. What few coins were in use came to the pockets of purses. Not surprisingly, let's see, subsequent ships acquired from stopovers in foreign ports during their voyages to the colony. Not surprisingly, with a jumble of coins coming from far-flung places like Spain, Holland, India, and Portugal, and no set values established between them, the medium of exchange in those formative years was very confused. And then I'll even share a little picture here. This is kind of cool. So this is an image of the view of Sydney town, 1823, featuring the governor's residence and rum hospital, as you can see right there. Nice little image. So it left the formative years very confused. As private enterprise grew, many in the fledgling colony resorted to bartering one good or service for another. That's how every economy seems to start, right? Barter. That's why you need a unit that everyone can agree on its value and purity and weight. Now, even the government engaged in barter as a system of money. Some of Sydney's earliest buildings paid for with goods such as tea, flour, meat, and tobacco. You want to talk about a primitive economy? These guys were swapping literally goods because they could not get silver. Or I'm sure they had no gold either. They had no unit of account that was common, so they had to imagine building your house and paying the guys to build it in tobacco or flour and tea. Or meat. I mean, how long does meat last? This is why humans have to come up with sound money or a unit of account. And again, all of these coins, this coin here, just want a quick shout out to the gentleman that made this video possible for all of you, is the gift that this came from, this coin here. It's also the same gentleman that gifted me this particular 8 reals and this one, and then these replicas here. Another channel friend of mine gifted me this chop-marked pillar dollar as a birthday gift, and it was, I mean, again, awesome. And then, of course, you know the story behind Mrs. Maltby's gift. We have to tell the greatest pillar dollar, the El Cazador rack coin. But again, imagine you don't have any silver, and you're forced to transact in Australia, in early colonial Australia, with flour, tobacco, and all of these rough goods. It's just crazy. Now, it's probably the most notorious was Sydney's first hospital, which was built in exchange for the rights to import the most prized trading good of all, rum. Let's read that again. These people built a hospital and they paid for it with rum. So that's considered to be the most notorious of the examples given for paying for buildings with goods. So that's why they called it, I'm guessing, Rum Hospital. They built Sydney's first hospital, which was built in exchange for the rights to import the most prized trading good, rum, earning it the affectionate nickname of the Rum Hospital. Now, unfortunately, this growing dependence on the rum trade, nurtured and propagated by unscrupulous military officers who hoarded supply and monopolized distribution, was to undermine the fragile political and social structure of the colony for over 20 years. The British realized a uniform, acceptable currency had to be established. It's amazing that it took them that long to realize this. A uniform, it's like step one. I mean, the Romans and the Greeks got this 2,000 years prior. Like, okay, we need a uniform, acceptable liquidity anchor, and lo and behold, they struck denarius and drachma. And the Lydians, of course, struck the stater. It took the British a little bit longer in Australia, but again, this was what did they call themselves earlier when we read about it? It called them a colony of disgracefuls and a bedraggled convict crew. So perhaps it was just a lack of education of the classics. They didn't realize they needed a good liquidity anchor yet. But after a while, they figured it out. They figured it out. So it took them a while. It took them over, let's see, it was to undermine the fragile political and social structure of the colony for over 20 years. The British realized a uniform acceptable currency had to be established. However, keeping coinage in the colony remained an ongoing problem. With the captains of foreign trading ships bringing goods into Sydney demanding immediate cash payment, the few coins that remained in circulation were being continually siphoned off, disappearing over the horizon when the ships hauled anchor. So imagine these ships would arrive into Australia. We'll just flip this box over and use this as a good. They've got these bales and crates full of spices or whatever. They drop them off in Australia. The Australians pay them in silver, and then that silver leaves on the ship, and they are losing, essentially hemorrhaging sound money, hemorrhaging what they called cash in this article, but the money supply of silver and gold on the island, or the continent, it is a large continent that looks like an island on a map to me, it's losing its wealth over time. It's bleeding silver. Just like, again, we've read about this throughout history. The United States had very stern reactions to that, closing the gold window in 71, halting convertibility of dollars into silver back in 64. So it's no question that this is a theme that occurs. Governments don't like to lose their precious metals. They don't like to bleed them. Again, this is a little bit earlier, of course, the colonial period, and they recognized the need to have to keep sound money in the colony. So the British realized after they realized the uniform acceptable currency had to be established and prevent it from leaving on ships, the man charged with resolving this colony's monetary woes was Governor Lachlan Macquarie, who assumed control of the settlement in 1810. Widely respected for his business sense and problem-solving abilities, Macquarie was prepared to take drastic action to restore the usage of coins as currency and stem their exodus out of the colony. The arrival of the English sloop Samarang from Madras on the 26th of November 1812 greatly assisted him in his cause. On board was 40,000 Spanish dollars. So let's read that part again. 1812, November 26th, a Spanish ship arrives carrying 40,000 Spanish dollars in 1812. So many of them were likely this style here, 1810, or I'm sure many could have been, again, like you'll see examples in a moment, Charles IV, 1790s, 1780s, early 1800s, and then, of course, the more traditional pillar dollar here, 1761. Again, a ship full of these, 40,000 pillar dollars arriving in Spain, or I'm sorry, in Australia. Spanish silver arriving in Australia on the 26th of November, 1812, assisting Governor Lachlan Macquarie, who knew he needed to restore the usage of coins as a currency. So what does he do? Let's hear about the next part. What is he going to do with all of these 40,000 pieces of silver? Determined that this payload would not, like previous imports of coins, find its way into trading ships and be lost to the colony, Macquarie and his advisors ordered that the center of each coin would be punched out and both portions re-stamped with different values. This was not an original idea. Many colonial outposts around the world were known to implement variations of similar ploys to overcome shortages of coins. The benefits of the strategy were threefold. Not only would this increase the supply by turning each dollar into 2 coins, but by mutilating each coin and overstriking them with the words New South Wales, they would be rendered almost useless outside the colony. As a further deterrent to foreign traders, Macquarie also imposed severe penalties on anyone found exporting the new coins. Thirdly, and most lucratively, the combined 2-for-1 value gave the financially strapped government a good profit. Now here's a an excerpt. I can't read it, but it looks like this is an excerpt from the Sydney Gazette in July 1813, a proclamation, Lachlan Macquarie, and it looks like you can kind of make it out, him passing the law here that we're discussing on creating this holy dollar. And we're gonna look at these in a moment. You know, this desire to maintain currency in Australia, punching them out, and we'll get into all of that in a moment. This is fun. I love this kind of stuff. I'm telling you, this is why I started this channel. This is the best stuff. Heck with the news, heck with what's going on in the modern world. I don't care. This is it. We know where it's going. This is the story of silver. This is the history of silver coins. And so many examples that you can glean just from this particular little tale in world history and world economics. And it's phenomenal. Now let's keep going. Value. Okay. A recently freed convict named William Henshaw, I mean, they're all convicts there, though, or Hershaw, was assigned the task of reminting the coins. So this William Hershaw was assigned the task of reminting the coins. Henshaw certainly had the right credentials for the job, having been convicted and transported to Australia on a charge of forgery. So the only guy they could find to make these is a convicted felon or forger, convict, who was banished to Australia. So like, hey, anyone know how to make coins? This guy's like, hey, I was a forger back in England. And they make him the forging guy, this William Henshaw. Now, originally, the restriking process was intended to be completed in about 3 months, hence the date 1813 on both pieces. But delays caused by difficulties in constructing the machinery meant the nearly 39,900 outer rings and centerpieces were not delivered until 1814, it says. So it took them a while, and they ended up 39,900 of these. Man, I got to find an original now. This is going to get me. This is going to be a problem. While it is believed some were lost or damaged in the production process, the exact number of original coins has always been uncertain due to the high prevalence of forgeries, some of which may even have been produced by Henshaw himself on the governor's own machinery. So now there's a situation where the head forger who was supposed to mint these may have produced more than the 39,900 because he was forging his own. Of course, he would have had to have gotten original pillar dollars in order to make more, but so this guy was making them on the governor's machinery. And it sounds like this is a theory or hypothesis, because it says if this were indeed the case, it would only add another element to the holy dollar and dump's colorful history of defiant improvisation and entrepreneurship. The outer rings, restamped with a value of 5 shillings. I'll grab an outer ring here, another one. So here's the outer ring. You can see 5 shillings there. 1813, the date. And this would have been obviously a Mexican mint. This is a replica. This is not, none of these ones you see down here are not originals, obviously. They're not even silver, they're pewter. They're just museum replicas now. Because again, these are very, very rare. This is representing what would have been a Mexican mint that would have arrived out of those 39,000, stamped, 5 shillings. This is the outer ring. And I've got, of course, I could show you an original 1761, could have easily been on the ship as well. They punch it out, and then they made this 5 shilling piece. And then, of course, the centerpiece, the dump, would have been this little 1813 stamped New South Wales coin. And it would have said 15 pence. And there you can see it says copy. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Again, I'm going to go through each one of these and look at the originals and just kind of talk about it a little further. But let's continue reading. Where did I leave off here? The outer rings, as I just showed you, were restamped with a value of 5 shillings. And they were given the official title of a colonial or a pierced dollar. So this would have been called a colonial or a pierced dollar. However, they quickly became known as the Holey dollars, and I wonder how they came up with that. There's the Holey dollar, the term that has endured until today. The centerpieces, overstruck to be worth 15 pence each, were called the dumps. So there's your little 15 pence, or the dump. The new coins proved to be a godsend to the struggling colony and served as the economic lifeblood for over a decade. It was not until late 1829 that they were both officially withdrawn as legal tender, and today it is estimated that only, listen to this, only 300 Holey dollars, and about 1,000 dumps survive. So, pause. This is me talking to my Australian friends. I know there's a lot of you. I've probably got more Australian friends than any other group as part of this channel. It's amazing how much this channel is, I guess, valued by my Australian brothers and sisters out there. You guys need to keep your eyes out for these. You know, tear drawers apart, talk to your great-grandparents, your grandparents, get a metal detector out. But go find yourself some Holey dollars and dumps. I refuse to believe there's none of these to be found. Surely somebody has dropped a few of these, you know, out there in the outback out there with them little kangaroos and dingoes and what have you. I mean, just go out there, find a couple of these for me, please. I want to hear about it. I want to hear about a discovery. There's got to be some Holey dollars and dumps unaccounted for. Please. Now, the new coins were a godsend, but again, there's only 300 of these left and 1,000 of these. And apparently, when we just read, there was 39,900. 39,900 of these total, most likely minted. Now, no doubt, when Governor Macquarie ordered their creation, he would scarcely have imagined the legacy he would provide for future historians and numismatists. But these precious coins, steeped in the rich intrigue of Australia's colonial past, are a lasting testament to that independent spirit that has carried that tiny settlement on to become the vibrant nation of Australia today. Now let me just show you, here's a cool picture of an original. It's an original 1813 Holey dollar and dump. Now this obviously is the little coin that would be loose. They're not bonded like you see on this guy over here. And we'll take it out and handle it some more, but I just wanted to show you this picture of an original. Pretty cool. That's as close as I'll ever get to an original. Wow, that's awesome. And then the design and manufacture of this coin here. We'll talk about it. Just as Governor Macquarie pushed the boundaries of the early colonial engineering with his original Holey dollar and dump, the Royal Australian Mint's 2003 subscription coin represents the cutting edge of 21st century minting technology, modeled around a three-dimensional laser scan of an original Holey dollar and dump, kindly loaned to the Mint for this purpose by a private collector. The Mint has rendered a truly eye-catching recreation, balancing authenticity with innovative design. I did not know that detail. Let's take a look at that again. So they used a three-dimensional laser scan of an original Holey dollar and dump to etch the die to strike this exact coin. So they took an original, and that's the design of it, rendered right into this. Even the imperfection, I imagine, because you can tell the edge of the coin was rough. It had some wear, but indeed, this is the original coin struck into this silver piece that you see here. Wow. Truly eye-catching, as it says. The 2003 composition features the obverse and reverse of both coins in actual size, but with the dump placed slightly off-center to leave a crescent-shaped hole through the final coin. The unusual shape and size of the hole required its own groundbreaking production techniques to ensure obverse and reverse images aligned perfectly. Greater attention was also paid to the flow of the metal to give the roughly punched appearance of the original coins. Wow. Okay, the flow of the metal, rough. Okay, I get it. The queen's effigy, as you can see there, the queen's effigy is also notable for its size and placement, in a process echoing the original overstrike of the Spanish dollars to create the holy dollar and dump. A cameo-like impression of Her Majesty has been superimposed diametrically opposite to the original stamp of the crown, purposely positioned to overlap the recreations and the modern outer ring. The effigy forms a bridge between the old and the new. Okay. The result, struck in fine silver, is a meticulous union of the past and present in a dazzling modern design, marking a milestone in Australian numismatic history. Wow. Interesting indeed. It is a phenomenal coin. Let's check this out. Here's the mass. This is the specs on this coin. The denomination $1. Mass in grams is 54.3 grams. Metal fine silver 99939 there. Diameter 50 millimeters. And it's a proof finish. So this is a proof coin that you see here. Now, the date on this coin here, so this is a Charles IV that they're showing us in this particular coin. Mexican Mint, Charles IV. And again, we do happen to have a Charles IV. Of course, it's been chop marked, but trading at that same time period. So this is what the original would have looked like before being punched out. You can see right there, and it is. It's exactly It's exactly the same size. They of course they obscured the old date on it, so you wouldn't really know. But you can see all the detail where his head would have been, the hair tie there, and then of course we'll flip it over. We'll look right here. We've got the Mexican mint mark right where it would be, Rex R, and then FM. It had the same assayer mark. FM is the assay mark that you see up there in the left corner. Hispania, there's the crown, and where they punched in shillings, and the pence mark. All right, now let's go into some of the originals, or not the originals, but the actual examples they give here, these museum replicas, as they are. The first one, which is great, I have an exact example of this one as well. Here's the Holy dollar, 1810. Look at that, exact same coin, as you can see. 1810, Ferdinand VII. Flip it over. You can see where they would have punched it out. Again, this is an original here. Same mint, Lima, Peru. Same assay mark. So this is a replica, again, of an example. This is an original coin, of course, that was not struck. They didn't get the edge right on these museum pieces, as you can see. Look at the edge. The edge on an original, as you can see here, has a very particular, very neat, weird, almost like square punch design on the edge, square and rectangle alternating. Let's see, I can't read. Let's see that here. All right. And welcome. Thank you for all the historical advice and input as well. Rolf Steiner, one of our resident Australian friends, one of the most brilliant commenters, always give me a little history lesson in the comments. I have to go back and read it sometimes just so I can take it all in, because when I'm making the video, I don't have the time to read it as quickly as I'd like to. But welcome, good to see you, resident Australian. Keep your eye out for some holy dollars and dumps. You know you can find a real one. You've got to. It's your mission now. But again, here's the 1810 version. Let's take a look at that little dump they punched out of it. All the dumps on these are the same. They all look exactly the same. It's just 15 pence and then 1813 New South Wales. And as you can see, this is where it would have been, obviously, whoop, there we go. So then the next example would be, again, the Oh, this is the fourth. This is that's right. That's where I got this one out. The third, El Cazador. So this one here, this is El Cazador around. Again, this is funny thing is the similarities between the history behind this coin and this. Why was this coin in the hull of a ship headed for New Orleans? Because there was a shortage of sound money. They needed the liquidity anchor. They needed silver. There's a lot, there's a lot to this. This is a Charles III pillar dollar that was in the hull of an El Cazador, the El Cazador ship headed from New Orleans to inject sound money into that region. Of course, it sank, crippling the economy, causing Spain to give it back to France, and France then sold the Louisiana Purchase territory to the United States. I mean, this is the shipwreck that changed the world, they say. Because they lost their silver, they lost their foothold in North America. Very historically important coin, just showing you the role of silver in sound money. And again, this coin, a gift from my beautiful wife, the coolest wife ever, Mrs. Maltby, getting me this piece of glorious Spanish silver. That's what I love about this particular video today is it ties so much history together. Here you have Spanish silver minted in Mexico, headed for the New World. Well, it was in the New World, but headed north, headed to New Orleans to secure that colony, give them some sound money, some liquidity anchors, just like Australia needed sound money. The ship never made it. It sank, and you know the story behind that. They lost that colony as a result. Now here is, again, some of those that were destined for Australia. Some of those 40,000 pieces of silver that landed in Australia were, in fact, identical to that coin there and had to be punched out and restruck into Holey dollars and dumps. Very interesting. And then the last version that I've got to show you here, let me move these. Put these up here. There we go. I'm sure there could have been some 1761s on that ship of those 40,000 pillar dollars. So here again, a beautiful piece of Spanish silver with the floral edge. assay mark, 8 reals. Now this one here, this example, this museum replica, is a, I believe, 1757. Yes. Yeah, 1757. And you can see where they would have punched out the globes. We'll line it up just perfect. Look at that. So it would have lined up just about like that. They would have punched out the globes and crown and then stamped it with New South Wales 1813 would have been stamped down into here. And you can kind of see the remnants of the ocean where it would have been on this coin. And the tops of both pillars still kind of present outside the ring of where the dump got punched out. The flowers still present. The mint mark from Mexico still present. And then on the reverse, let's check that out. I'm hoping this is the most exhaustive Holey dollar and dump video ever made. I don't know how many people searched that, but here you go. Let's try to line this up. Let's get the H right over that and the G. There we go. You can kind of see right where they would have punched out the entire center of the crest there, and then and put the 5 shillings pressed into there, and then you can see it looks like the assay mark is utterly destroyed. You can see the bottom feet of the lion on this coin here. You can see a little bit of that flower under what have been the, it looks like you can see the corner of the assay mark, MM. So this coin here, this replica, and this original pillar dollar both have what looks like MM assay marks. And again, this would have been, yeah, there you go. Beautiful. Only the biggest difference here, this would have been 17, looks like 57, and this one's 1761. All right, pretty interesting. And then let's take a look at that original again. I got to figure this out. I don't know the exact conversion. If this is 50, what did it say again? 54.3 grams of fine silver. I'm not certain. There's 31 grams, I believe, in a troy ounce. So I don't know exactly how many troy ounces this is. It sounds like it's probably an ounce and a half coin. Again, struck as a proof. You can really get some of the detail in there. Plus ultra. Very remarkable coin. Struck in 2003, only 14,000 of these. Reeded edge. Just a glorious piece of history in silver. Wow. Royal Australian Mint. Beautiful. The Holy Dollar and Dump. There you go. And I really appreciate all of you for tuning in to this. I put this little booklet away, the Certificate of Authenticity. Thank you all for tuning in, being a part of the Junius Maltby channel for this little historical walk through this tale. Coinage in Australia, the Holy Dollar and Dump. What a fascinating piece of numismatic history. I am actually still quite speechless as to the scarcity of these coins, the fact that they've been melted down, as Rolf put it, and been destroyed, essentially wiped out. That only 300 of these holy versions, holy dollars, exist, and only about 1,000 dumps. Get out there, try to find one. I'm gonna look them up. I'm gonna read more about them. Even I'm gonna see if there's any available out there. Just see what they go for. I haven't really explored that yet. You know what? Maybe Rolf can answer that question in the chat there. What is an original holy dollar and dump go for? And do they have a way? I'm curious. I'm sure a matching set is even rarer. I mean, can you imagine this? Are they able to somehow match up if the dump goes to the holy dollar? You know, if you could find a matching set again, like the actual centerpiece that was punched out of a holy dollar, because you know they got separated in circulation and most likely never ever found themselves together again. But I would imagine there's none. I would imagine that in a dump that are from the same original coin. Look at that. Rolf even says it. A matching set is virtually impossible, I think. The only way you would be able to do it would be maybe modern exams, like under a microscope, to look at the edges of where they were punched to see if they have certain features that line up exactly. Gosh, I can't imagine what that. I can't imagine. It's got to be incredible. Just, yeah. I'd love to see an actual dump. I'm gonna check it out. I gotta look these up more, and maybe one day explore getting at least like a little dump coin as part of my collection. Add to this an original dump. See if they're available out there. But thank you all for tuning in. Another story, another example of how silver is just the absolute utter importance in global trade, economics, and was so for centuries, millenniums. And here you have just another example, two examples really on the table. We've got the Holy Dollar and Dump tale. We've got the El Cazador tale. We've got the story of Spanish silver flowing around the globe, making world trade possible, the exchange for goods and services, the stores of labor that it represented. Just an amazing tale, always.
Rolf said one of them went for over $500,000.
Rolf said one of these went for over $500,000. Well, that case is closed. Junius Maltby will never own an original holy dollar. That is impossible. We will, in fact, colonize Mars before that ever occurs. Thank you all for tuning in. It's always fun to see each and every one of you, to the channel members that make this channel possible, that support this channel, share its content, and participate. Thank you. To all of you Patreons and patron members, thank you. And to the patron member and friend and follower of this channel that is so dear to this channel, that made this video possible. Without that channel member, this wouldn't have happened. You would not see this coin. You would not see these museum pieces and the examples that I was able to show you with them. And you would not see several of the pillar dollars present, pieces of 8, that are also originals. You would not see them. So huge shout out. Everyone, give a round of applause to that one channel member. Give him a thank you if you could, for making this video possible for all of us to share with all of you. Again, without him, it would not have occurred. And thank you for tuning in. Have a good rest of your Sunday, all of you. For those of you in Australia, if it's Monday, maybe it is, have a good Monday. Take care now.